hologram program activated.
Hello dear students of 9th standard. Today let us study class 9 physics, force and laws of motion. We have already started this chapter and initiated with the basic classifications and concepts. Now let us start with the last topic which we have studied in the previous video. We studied about balanced forces and unbalanced forces. We know that forces are of many types, but main divisions are balanced and unbalanced forces. Now, in balanced forces, net effect produced is zero. As there are equal force from both sides, net effect is zero. So, object does not move. But in unbalanced forces, you can see the net effect force is not zero. So, what happens? Balanced force will not change the state. The magnitude are equal from both sides. So, no change in state of the object will be there, and balanced forces cancel each other's effect. So for motion, in short, balanced forces is not required, right? Now you see unbalanced forces. These forces are not equal. They are not equal from opposite direction. So what happens? They cannot cancel out their effects because their magnitudes are different. So conclusion of this difference between is finally that to move any kind of object, to change its speed or velocity or even direction, so to do all these, we must apply unbalanced forces. So in short, only due to unbalanced forces, motion is possible, right? Why I am teaching you this? Because we need to know why we are studying this chapter. We are studying the cause of motion, that is unbalanced forces. Now, moving on to the next topic, we'll start what were the earlier beliefs and ideas, starting with the first one, that is Aristotle. He was a Greek philosopher. He believed that if motion of a body is to be maintained, one must keep applying external force, and that is very simple. If you are on a bicycle and if you want to maintain your speed on a bicycle, you must be applying external force from your legs, right? So he considered daily life experiences and observations to give his thought, right? And believe me, his thought was believed to be true for thousands of years, almost for 2000 years. His thought was considered to be true. Okay, but actually, this was not true, this was false. But as you say, in science, whenever any original idea is considered as false, we need another idea, another discovery, another invention to prove the next idea as true. That is the beauty of science. So Galileo Galilei, the next scientist, he developed his own law taking care of all kind of visible invisible forces. So he did experiments using inclined plane and concluded that in order to maintain motion with constant velocity, external force is not needed. See, what Aristotle said, that we need constant external force, but what Galileo Galilei said, that in order to maintain motion with constant velocity, external force is not needed. Now you may be surprised with it. How without any external force, any object can move in constant velocity, right? But that is possible if we neglect the force of friction, right? Because friction force always opposes motion, right? You have studied friction force in lower standard, 8th standard. So you know that when you kick a ball, it will travel some distance and stop after some time. Why it is stopping? Because there is frictional force. So Galileo Galilei said, if there is no frictional force, the body will continue its motion till infinite distance and infinite time, right? Even if you kick the ball, if you kick a football, it will travel to infinite distance if there is no friction. So Galileo Galilei just changed the original belief related to motion. Clear? Now let us see the Galileo's inclined plane experiment. For this, he took two inclined plane 1, inclined plane 2. In between, it had kept some distance between those two planes, and we needed a heavy ball for that. Now, what he did, he would release the ball from one inclined plane and it will travel and will move upward in the second inclined plane. Right? Notice that the ball, if coming downwards, the velocity will increase, and if the ball, if going upward, the velocity will slowly decrease. But in this whole experiment, you need to know, or you need to observe the height which is released and height of achieved in the inclined plane 2. Now let us see this experiment of Galileo. So if we have all these things, what we'll do, we'll release the heavy ball from inclined plane 1. Now notice the height achieved, right? So the height achieved by the ball on the other side is somewhat less than the height which was of release, right? See, initial height and final height is somewhat different, and you know why this happened? Because of friction. This height difference is only due to friction. So what if you remove friction? So if you lubricate the plane, if you make it very smooth, the height achieved will be the same. You can see now frictionless surface, initial height and final height is same. So this was the first stage of Galileo's experiment. Okay. Now what we do? We decrease the angle. Over here, let us decrease the angle. Let us make this plane longer. Right. Now what will happen? You see, if we release the ball, it will travel and it will always achieve the same height. So this is the trick. Okay, the ball will travel the same height. And now what if you remove the angle? If you make the plane, second plane very long, straight, the ball will travel to infinity to achieve the final height. So this was the Galileo's inclined plane experiment. To achieve the final height, the ball will try to move, but till when? Till infinity. So without any external force, Galileo proved that if you release the ball from a height, the ball will continue its uniform motion throughout the time to achieve the same height. But if the angle is 0, the height will not be achieved. So this ball will continue to move to infinite distance, right? But the only thing is that you have to neglect the friction over here. Clear? So this was the original Galileo's inclined plane experiment. You study this very carefully because it will again be repeated in standard 11th physics. Okay? Now, based on these studies, Newton also formulated his own thoughts, and his thoughts are known as three laws of motion. So we shall start with the first law, and first law is nothing but it is related to the Galileo's experiment. So Newton studied his experiment, he studied his thoughts, and he formulated three laws, right? And they were known as the laws of motion. The first law of motion was related to the law of inertia given by Galileo. Now let us see the statement of Newton's first law of motion, that is very important. The object remains in a state of rest or of uniform motion in a straight line unless compelled to change that state by an external applied force. Now we'll study this statement in detail. Again, let us read the statement. The object remains in a state of rest or of uniform motion in a straight line unless compelled to change that state by an external force. The simplest meaning is that all objects, whether they are stationary or whether they are in motion, they will all resist the change in their state. Means the stationary object will try to remain stationary and a moving object will try to keep moving unless you apply some force. That means suppose a pen is there laying stationary on the table, it will always remain stationary unless you apply any force to make it in motion. Clear? Same way, if there is a moving football, and if you it will always continue to move if by foot or by hand if you are not stopping it. So this property of the object to remain in the natural state of motion or rest is called inertia. So what is inertia? If in exam it is asked what is the definition of inertia, what you will write? Inertia is the natural tendency of any object to resist a change in its state of motion or of rest. It's just like if you are sleeping, someone tells you to wake up, but inertia is there in your body, so you will not move, right? Just a normal funny example. Note that every object having any mass has inertia because inertia is dependent on object mass. So this you keep in mind. Now let us see an experiment to understand inertia. Look, what we need card, the glass tumbler and some coins, right? And we will keep it on the card, the coins in between exactly on the tumbler glass. And if you remove that card, the coin due to inertia, it will try to remain stationary and it will fall directly inside the glass. So that means the coin has some inertia. Okay, let us see this small activity. Now, based on the concept of inertia, a very surprising thing you can see in your daily life, and that is safety belt. Certain experiences that we come across while traveling in the motor car can be explained on the basis of inertia. Right? We tend to remain at rest with respect to seat until the driver applies a braking force to stop the motor car. Now what happens with the application of brakes? The car will slow down, but our body will tend to continue in the same state of motion due to inertia. Right? See, the car is moving, our body is also moving. If the car is applied brake, so car will know that it had to stop down, but the body will continue to be in rest. So what will happen? See, in this case, if there is no safety belt, so if C applies brakes, what will happen? Car will stop, but C will continue her motion and C will just collide with the front panel, right? And that will cause serious injury. So over here what we see, if she is wearing the safety belt, right? If she is wearing the safety belt, what will happen? Even if the car will slow down, the safety belt will exert a force to make the forward movement little bit slow. So we will not experience injury, right? So this is the simplest technique by which we can avoid the injury, and very surprising that safety belts are designed by the help of or on the concept of inertia of our body, right? So this will be asked in give reason, so please note very carefully. Now let us see another example, inertia inside the bus, right? Suppose we are standing in the bus. Now when the bus will start from the rest, you see very carefully, here your legs over here, your legs are in contact with the bus. If the bus is at rest, your whole body is at rest. But what happens when the bus starts from rest? Let us see. You see, now when the bus will start from rest, the bus will move forward, right? And the legs are in contact with the bus, so legs, the lower part of our body will also try to move forward. But what is the problem? That our upper part of the body will try to remain stationary. So you see there will be an imbalance created. The lower part is moving ahead with the bus and upper part is stationary. So you will tend to move backward as you can see in the experiment or video. Now What happens when bus is in motion and you are also in motion and suddenly the driver applies brake? You see, our lower part of the body is in motion with the bus, but when the brakes are applied, the bus stops. So lower part will also stop, but upper part was in motion, so it will try to continue the motion in forward direction. So whenever the brakes are applied, we tend to move forward because of the imbalance created. Which kind of imbalance? You see the lower part steady and rest with the bus, but the upper part still moving. So applying first law, Newton's first law, this will be the reason for the imbalance and will try to move forwards, right? So this you can experience in your daily life, right? So that means that inertia, Newton's laws of motion, force, they are everywhere around us. You just have to notice and observe very carefully. So that's it for today. See the video carefully. Please watch it carefully. Give us a like if you really like the video and try to prepare notes. Till then, thank you.